In today's video, I'm going to talk about the second album by the band Metal Church. It's called The Dark. It was released on October 6th, 1986. It's celebrating its 35th anniversary. I recently did a Metal Church video after the death of Mike Howe, and I talked about A Blessing in Disguise. But this is the album right before that one, and this one did not have Mike Howe. It had David Wayne on vocals, and it also had Kurt Vanderhoof, Kirk Arlington, Duke Erickson, and Craig Wells. So Metal Church is a band that cannot really be defined by a specific subgenre of metal. They've been called thrash metal and heavy metal, speed metal, and power metal. I've even heard the term like American power metal being used for this band. So back in 1986, it was a big year for metal music. Let me talk quickly about some of the other albums that were out at the time, and then we'll kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with here. So the big album that was out at that time was Master of Puppets. That was a thrash metal album. But this album is, it does have a little of that sound, but this one, The Dark, it's a little more darker, has a little more of an evil tone than that. Then also that came out that year was Slayer's Reign in Blood, and that was a thrash metal masterpiece. That was a very dark and evil album. But this album was a lot slower paced than that. Iron Maiden released Somewhere in Time that year. That was completely different. I would actually say that was even more closer to power metal than this was. And I think this album is closer to the type of metal that maybe like King Diamond or Merciful Fate was playing. A very dark form of like heavy metal music, but the band was not like as evil as like King Diamond or Merciful Fate. This band did have some like supernatural and occult themes, but it was more like horror movie stuff. They also wrote about political topics. So, for example, the song Line of Death was about like some hostilities going on in the country of Libya. That was like back in the 80s. But the title track and Watch the Children Pray are focused on more like darker occult themes. So the album has 10 songs, a runtime of 42 minutes. So I'm going to go through them track by track. First track is called Ton of Bricks. This one starts out with a quick drum intro and has a fast-paced beat with some chugging guitars. David Wayne's vocals are very aggressive, similar to other like thrash metal bands, but you do understand everything he says. The song does have a nice gallop to it, but there's also some melody in the chorus, and I really like the heavy drum beat that really like drives the song. The second song is called Start the Fire. This one has more of like a traditional heavy metal feel, maybe something like that Painkiller era Judas Priest, but with like a slightly darker tone. Has a slight thrash metal feel, but not a very fast-paced song. David Wayne lets out some high-pitched vocal screams, similar to Rob Halford, and there's some nice chugging guitars on this song. Track 3 is called Method to Your Madness. This one has a slower, more melodic opening riff. First verse has a pretty cool like gallop to it. I do hear like an Iron Maiden influence in this song. It's also one of the more like melodic and catchy songs on the album. I like the drumming on this one. Some really cool drum fills throughout this, and this is one of the like more politically themed songs about soldiers going to war. There's even like a very melodic breakdown in the song with like clean singing. Track 4 is Watch the Children Pray. So this is the most popular song from the album. They had a music video made for it. It's a heavy metal power ballad with a clean guitar intro with melodic singing. In the pre-chorus, the heavy guitars do build up to the main riff in the chorus. It's a kind of a slow song, maybe similar to that like Dio era Black Sabbath. Lots of melody in the song. The next song is called Over My Dead Body. So this one picks up some speed, and this song does have a heavy thrashy riff and a fast drum beat. This one has some of those like high-pitched screams, some really great lead guitar fills. This one might be like the closest to that traditional thrash metal. Lyrically, they're talking about like drug addiction, and this song has a lot of energy to it. Track number 6 is The Dark, the title track, probably one of my favorites. Maybe the best song of the album. Very dark, it's heavy, it has a very haunting tone with a steady beat and some chugging guitars. David Wayne shows off his higher vocal range. The chorus is very memorable as well, and it's a really good song for Halloween. That's coming up soon. The lyrics deal with being alone in a dark house with like an evil presence coming after you. I like the thick guitar tone and the really thrashy riffs. The next song is called Psycho. So this one is a song that's very close to that traditional thrash metal again. Has a fast pace, a heavy drum beat, very heavy riffs. Lyrically, the song is about someone who gets killed by a psychopath when they come home like late at night from a party. There's some really heavy riffs in the song, and I do like the end of the song where it does go into double time. It gets like really fast and really a great way to close out the song. Track 8 is Line of Death. So this is the song I was talking about before with those political lyrics about Libya. It's a fast-paced song, has some heavy, thrashy riffs, a really great drum beat. Song with some melodic moments, and I do hear some of those that like Iron Maiden influence as well, you know, with those like melodic guitar riffs. There's a slow breakdown to add some like variety to the song, and the song does speed up towards the end as well. Track 9 is called Burial at Sea. So this one they slow down the pace, has those chugging guitars, those metal riffs, and the song moves at a mid-pace, but it's still a heavy song. The song's about being like on a ship, you know, maybe similar to the Titanic. I know they did a song about the Titanic on their next album, but this one paints a picture of being just on a ship that's sinking. It's just very cold. They're way up north, like with all the ice, and they eventually just die and see death all around them. It just paints that picture. Very haunting, scary song, probably closer to that traditional like doom metal. And the last song is called Western Alliance. You know, it's a political song, as you could tell. Closer to traditional heavy metal, like I said, that like Judas Priest kind of sound. But it's a heavy song. They do add some melody to it, but it does have those fast chugging riffs. And it's very heavy, and that's the last song on the album. So in conclusion, this is a really killer heavy metal album. Really nice blend of thrash metal, speed metal, and heavy metal. The first 7 songs are awesome. The last 3 are good, maybe the weaker tracks, but my favorites are Watch the Children Pray, the title track, The Dark, and Ton of Bricks. This album might be able to stand up against Blessing in Disguise and might be one of my favorites, and probably better than their debut album, you know, the Metal Church album. So let me know in the comments what you thought, and let me know if you think this is one of their best. So this weekend, lots of heavy metal, a new album by Trivium. There are 2 albums by Devin Townsend. There's the band Eclipse, that's European power metal with Eric Martinson. And a solo album by Gus G. He played guitar for Ozzy Osbourne at one point. Those are all coming out this week. There's another death metal album called Blood Red Throne. That band has that classic death metal with one of the members of, I think, Satyricon was in that. But that's it. That will be coming next weekend, going into the next week. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John. Please like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next one.